Happy Thursday and happy late birthday, Mr. Gavin. I was going to initially say happy birthday to him last week, but it wasn't. It was a Kiro episode, so I held back. Gavin's birthday was July 29th. A few weeks ago, we actually had the Gavin birthday event, and then the episode of Kiro came up, and I don't know. I still figured the episode should have been switched. I still vote for that. So yes, happy birthday, Gavin, my boy. You are 24. Okay, so we open this episode with a flashback and we see these ginkgo, I'm going to keep saying that. We see these ginkgo leaves floating all around and we see the colour amber, which immediately, before I even see anything, tells me this scene is a flashback. And it is. So MC turns out to be a bit of a rebel, and in her youth, even though it didn't really happen long ago. So at high school, MC would break into the music room to play the grand piano at school. We see her playing and she gets disturbed by a breeze and some ginkgo leaves fall in, saying that she didn't know what her future would hold, about her dad dying and the company. And we cut to her bracelet, the one that Gavin gave her, the one you can actually buy. So if you really like the bracelet, you can buy it. When I was researching for the initial picture, it is a item. I'm sure if you look around a little bit, you will find it. So if you really like Gavin and you want that bracelet, it is a thing. So the title of this episode is An Amber Wind. We did colour vision a while ago. Amber is a colour of memories. You say amber, you think old. So amber is crystallized tree sap. You will find things get stuck in it. So think Jurassic Park and you've got the bug, a mosquito stuck in the amber. So amber is all about the past. It's really old. It's about memories. We enter and MC is telling us that a student from a high school nearby has gone missing. This is the same high school that she, Minor and Gavin attended. We get a text from Kiro basically asking if she'd stayed up late and that he himself was working quite late into the night, and that he said that concentrate on your work whilst I investigate the guys who were from last week's episode, who's basically Black Swan. Everyone's starting to investigate them in their own kind of manner. What I did notice as well, when MC texts back, we get the cute little MC face of her looking up. In the game, so if you're a game fanatic, did you see this? Did you see what I see? They're using the same icon from the game with MC's face looking... It's almost like she's looking up into the corner. I'll try and get a picture of the icon itself. That is the icon they use in the anime too. Just little Easter eggs. I think at some point someone should go through the anime once it's all out and go, look at these Easter eggs and the Easter eggs to the game kind of thing. I'm also wondering if we'll get any Nikki as you like references, because there are, because if you're a fan of the game, you know that the game is made by ELX and they also made Nikki. There are, if you go and do your walkabout, so you do your daily strolls in game, you will see in the photo shop there are pictures of Nikki. So they have managed to do the Easter egg link of their one game to another game. They are the producers of both games. Right. So let's get into the episode. So we find out that last week's episode of Miracle Finder on Key was a huge hit, and Minor has a new idea for the next episode, and it's the idea of the love letter in the desk. And it turns out this was a movie which was really popular. So Kiki at first is like, I don't really want to ride the back of the movie's fame. And we see this really cute Kiki and Minor squabble. And I know everybody in the game ships Minor and Gavin. I don't mind Minor and Gavin. I just look at Kiki and Minor and I'm like, I could ship it. I really could. But, I mean, if it continues with you guys squabbling and acting like spoiled kids, maybe. So MC gets a flashback to Gavin's letter. So we're talking about the idea of love letters. You know, when you're at school, people would pass around letters. Sadly, in my era, even though I'm old but not old, we didn't really pass around love letters. But the idea of passing notes around was still a thing. She says herself, I have no fond memories of that letter. Because bear in mind, MC thinks that letter is a threat. A lot of this episode is about clearing up those misunderstandings. So MC at the moment, her idea of Gavin is a misunderstanding. So Minor says that the ramen shop in front of the school is still there and that we should investigate the message board. So the rumour is, if you confess your love and your feelings on that message board, they will be reciprocated. Kiki is now super excited because this is more her thing. Kiki likes the idea of romance and rumours around love. So MC is happy. She's like, that's it. Okay, we should go with it. This is going to be our next episode. This also allows her to investigate the school. The main plot is MC investigating Black Swan and the girl's disappearance. However, the stuff on top with the message board and her doing the episode for Miracle Finder, that is the guys. The goals are the same. So she's doing two things at once. So that's where our plot is leading us. I like this episode better than I like last episode, and I'll explain it later. We get another text. Well, it's more like a memo that the LFG report is now due, and she freaks out. She's like, oh my God, I've missed the deadline. So she goes to she quickly types up. She really must have had like nothing to do, because she literally types like a line and then she's like, it's done. So she really can't have been that far behind on her report, or we're going to find out her report was rubbish. And then she calls Victor. She wants to apologise. So she says, I sent you my report and to the financer and a copy to you. And if you'd look at it and let me know what you think. And then Victor is like, you called me in the middle of the night to read your report. So it turns out our boy Victor is in New York on business. Quote, there's air quotes there. We'll get back to that later. MC, while she was half asleep, ignored the memo that Victor had gone to New York. So she's called him in the middle of the night. We do get this really nice skyline as well, where we see the New York skyline, which is really cool. You can see the Empire State Building behind him. She kind of apologizes and hangs up, and then Victor recalls and he's like, you hung up on me? It's like, yeah, hanging up on Victor is a bad idea. I did it once in game. It was bad. So Victor's like, I'll look into your report later and I'll report on any issues. And NPC's kind of like, I kind of thought you'd be angrier. And Victor's like, being angry at every little last detail is a waste of my time. Back. Idiot. He asks, actually, how is the show progressing? Which is quite nice. This is Victor's way of showing he cares. He's asking about how her work's getting on. And she explains that this is the new idea, this is what we're going to go with. And Victor is like, don't let your idiocracy infect your underclassmen. And she's just like, excuse me, and then hangs up. So, Victor, you pushed your luck too far. You got hung up on twice. And that is all for Victor for now. We'll come back to him a little bit later. So we are now at school, the high school. And I'll just put here, the uniform is so chill. I like the uniform because they're kind of wearing hoodies, and it's different from like the Japanese manga anime, you know, where the sailor outfits, or like the guys wearing like the black outfit uniform kind of thing. Everybody here is wearing this nice yellow and blue white hoodie with like skirts or trousers depending on who they are. MC starts to interview everybody, so we find out that the girl went missing 6 months ago, but people said that she was really weird and she was always kind of on her own, had no friends. But they said, oh yeah, because she had some weird power. And apparently, whenever a teacher would be mean to her or whoever was in her club, they would get burned, like they would feel that the power of being burned. We see a lot of ginkgo leaves blowing around. The ginkgo leaf is everywhere in this episode because it's a Gavin episode. So MC in her head is like, is this Black Swan? Have they somehow taken her and adopted her because of these powers? We see her go to interview some boys and they say, oh, somebody else has just asked us about this. We lead to Gavin. Our boy Gavin is here. MC is like, well, if you're here, she has to be an evolver, right? And she's being abducted by Black Swan. But Gavin is like, well, your investigation comes first. And he starts to drag her away. We end up at a place called Lynn's Kitchen. We get a flashback where we see MC around a corner seeing the owner of Lynn's Kitchen paying money to Gavin. And in her head, she thinks he's extorting the poor guy for some cash, because in her head, Gavin is a thug, Gavin is just troublemaker. MC then turns to Gavin and says, maybe you shouldn't come in. And Gavin's like, well, you need an interview, right? We should go in. And he just kind of walks in ahead of her. MC kind of follows and she sees the board and she's like, oh, the board is here, and she's really excited because it's here, it's still there. I don't know how long it has been since they graduated. If Gavin's 24, even though I know this is later in the anime kind of, the games kind of thing, we can say at least it's probably been about 5 years since they graduated. That's a rough estimate. I wouldn't hold me to it because I don't know how young Gavin is in the beginning of the game. He's currently 24 in where we are right now in the game, and I don't know how. I think it's been a year. I think there's a time lapse of a year, so we could probably say it's been about 7 years maybe. Gavin sits down and the owner recognises him and smiles at each other, and he's like, I'll have the usual. And we see Gavin smiling at MC as she's excited looking at the board. And oh my god, okay, if you guys have been watching my other animes, you know how much I like food. I really love ramen. I'm Clockwork Dandy Noodles for a reason, guys, because I adore ramen. If you want to find a way to my heart, it's ramen. These guys have a beef and cashew pork cutlet ramen. I I want that food so bad. I absolutely adore cashew. It's char siu, sorry. Char siu. So beef and char siu. Want it. Good choice, guys. Good choice. Really wish I was there to eat that. MC's all nostalgic and Gavin asks her, did you come here a lot? MC says, yeah, I came here a lot with my friend, but she kind of transferred at the end of first year and I didn't really get to say goodbye. And we get this flashback. I'm not going to lie, my memory's a bit foggy and I think it's MC who's at the board who posts this. MC is at the board and she posts a letter saying, I might never see you again and I didn't get to say goodbye. I miss you. That's kind of our little flashback there. I think it's MC and I'll explain a little bit later why. Gavin asks Mr. Noah, who is our owner, MC wants to do a story on the restaurant. Is it okay? And MC's like, I'd like to cover your message board. And then Noah says, well, I have to talk to my wife first because she's the one who actually started it. And Gavin's like, will you do it as a favour for me? He's like, for you, I can't say no. So Gavin then gets a call and leaves. And Noah brings out some sweets for MC while she's waiting so he can go talk to his wife. And MC is like, I am so sorry if Gavin's being pushy. And he's like, no, it's okay. We owe him a lot. And MC's like, no, he's not threatening you, is he? Is he? And Noah's like, well, he'd never extort money from us. And the MC's like, but what about the money? But what about that time I saw him take money from you guys? And we finally get some information on Gavin, which finally clears up these misunderstandings. Finally, it turns out he helps Noah's son who was hit by a car. Gavin took Mr. Noah's son into hospital and he pays all the medical fees. And that can't be cheap. There's reasons why Gavin can afford it. It's fine. Noah says that we owe him so much. Thanks to him, our son recovered with no after effects. Gavin is somebody who follows the path that he believes in, no matter what anybody thinks of him, and he's really misunderstood. And it then starts to dawn on MC that maybe the letter that she received wasn't a threat. And she's like, what was that letter actually about? And we get the credit scene of Gavin and Victor. So we see her interview his wife, which is quite a nice little touching little moment. And they interview the school kids and then MC's all done. And Gavin tells her, now you're done, you need to go home. But MC's like, you're going to investigate more. I want to come with you. Gavin tells us that headquarters has basically called me to tell me that Black Swan is operating in this area. And I don't want you to get caught up. Gavin's trying to stop MC getting caught up because he knows that Black Swan is targeting MC and he doesn't know why. He wants to avoid casualties and he doesn't want to get wrapped up in all of this. There's other reasons as well, but we won't go into those just yet. So Gavin says, if I find something, I'll let you know later. So this seems to kind of settle the deal. MC starts to walk away. She gets a phone call from dearest Minor, our meddling Minor, and he's like, so did you remember anything whilst you were back at our old school? She's like, I've got the interview done, it was okay. And then Minor's like, did you remember any memories of heartbreak or promises or secret letters being placed in your desk? And we've even got this winking face. I've put 3 winking faces in this section here. Minor's winking face, the meddler. It turns out that Minor's the one who put the letter in MC's desk. So he kind of set this up because I think he was trying to push these two towards each other, which is quite cute. So as she's on the phone, she's embarrassed because she's like, how did you know about that? The blonde chick who is missing, I'm going to say blonde chick because it turns out it isn't, she walks past MC and MC's like, that's the girl. And she hangs up on Minor and she follows her. But as soon as she turns around the bend, the girl pulls off her wig to reveal it's the boy in the last episode we saw shooting at her from a roof. He's also the boy we see with the character who I don't really want to talk about at the moment, at the end of the last scene kind of thing. He's also there and we heard at the last episode that he was doing it for his sister. He uses his powers, so he kind of summons like a dust storm to surround MC. He captures MC and he transports her to a roof and her bracelet falls to the floor. We get a vision. It's Gavin reaching down for MC as she's falling and somebody snipes at Gavin. She wakes up on the roof. The boy tells her that she can't break free, and as MC's grilling him trying to work out what his motive is, he says, I don't know what the motive is in the end. All I know is I've been told I need to throw you off this roof. Nothing personal, but it is for my sister. And she says the police are going to be here soon. And he's like, that's fine, they can pick up your corpse. And MC tries to hit him. This is where something really important happens. So whilst MC is trying to almost will Gavin to come to her, she's trying to protect herself because she's really scared. We see this blast of energy rippling out from MC. It's really brief, it's really quick, and then we see the boy's powers going haywire. And he says, I can't control it, and the roof starts to fall apart. MC falls backwards on the collapsing roof. She starts to fall, and she realizes, this is what I've just seen. We see Gavin appear, and he catches her. So whilst Gavin is looking at the boy below, MC's suddenly looking for the sniper, and this is so important. This is the first time MC has decided to listen to the vision visions, and she sees the sniper and she's like, Gavin, behind you. And Gavin is able to dodge. Gavin, obviously, he doesn't get hurt. He's fine. He floats back down. We get a nice scene of her being amazed by these ginkgo leaves, which is great. Gavin also knocking out the sniper, which is cool. MC is starting to realise that what she's seeing may not be just a dream. It may not just be a bad nightmare. She's realising that what she's seeing is precognitive, is the word I'm looking for. She is seeing things as they're about to happen. So this is the first time she's been able to prevent the bad thing from happening. We don't know what would have happened, but it's likely that Gavin would have been sniped in the back. Gavin could have been really injured. Somebody would have been hurt. We then get a flashback. Gavin is almost taken aback by MC, who's looking at the ginkgo leaves around her. We see Gavin getting beaten up on a roof by a gang. This, because if you are following both my streams, I'm covering God of High School as well. This suddenly gave me the Han kind of flashbacks of Han on a roof being beaten up. So Gavin is the one beaten up this time. He's been beaten up by a gang, and the guys pull a knife on him because he's stubborn and he's refusing to listen and take orders from them. And the guy kicks him off the roof. Again, same with Han's actual situation. Quite a bit of like attempted murder going on, which we're going to avoid. We're going to ignore. And we see this flashback of child Gavin protecting his mother from an abusive father. This was very briefly touched on, but he's also in the forces as well. This is a flashback within a flashback. So Gavin is falling off the roof as this happens. As Gavin falls towards the floor, he's like, no, this can't end like this. I've still got so much more to do. We can hear the piano playing in the background, which is MC on a piano. And Gavin's powers awaken and he's able to float back up again. And we end up at the same scene when he's looking outside the window of MC playing on the piano. And he says, you gave me life. That's why I fight to protect you. And that's the end of that flashback. What is important here, which I guess I need to mention because the anime is now giving us this information. Last episode, we heard about a power, and that was the power of the queen who could awaken evolve powers within other people. All I'm going to say is, like, you know me, put a sticky note in the corner, put a note on this. This is important. You might want to start linking some dots. I'm not going to give you it all because I don't want to be too spoilery, but the anime is kind of making it really hard not to. Just put a sticky note in it, guys. Let's leave it at that. So Gavin is putting her bracelet back on, and he says, don't lose it again. And MC's like, how did you know where I was I was on the roof if the GPS tracker was not with me? He's like, as long as you're in the wind, I'll find you. That kind of typical Gavin saying. And MC's like, then what's this bracelet for? And Gavin kind of coughs and looks away. And it's like, oh, okay, I get it, Gavin, I get it. And then he kind of turns around, like, ignores her and goes, next time, don't call me senpai, call me Gavin. So cute, bless him. A week later, we find out from the report that Gavin has sent, we find out the blonde boy's name is Jay, and his younger sister, Josie. We already kind of know this from the last episode preview. Jay is being forced by Black Swan to do things for them to protect his sister. So Black Swan is threatening him. If you want your sister unharmed, you have to do this dirty work for us, kind of thing. We see MC having tea with Lucian. So cute. It'll be building up to what next episode is going to be. She says, these are both named in my father's last report, and it's the disappearance of a family in North Loveland. Everything here is connected. We're starting to see a lot of connections going on, and we get this really quite nice night scene where MC's talking to Gavin on the phone. So she's like, thank you for the report. And Gavin's like, I don't know why Black Swan is still targeting you, so you need to be careful. I have to say, hats off to MC being brave here, because this is brave. She turns around and says, Mina told me that you asked him to put the letter in my desk. And I'm so sorry, I assumed it was a threat. What did the letter say? Because we get this really cool flashback where Gavin is giving Mina the letter covered in blood, and he's like, can you put this in her desk? This is your mission, kind of thing. And you can rewrite it as well, because I'm about to enlist. I've got no time to rewrite it myself. Mina's kind of like, but it looks so cool like this. No, it doesn't. Mina, it really doesn't. He's like, I bet you were skipping out about what to write in this letter, weren't you? And in a funny way, Gavin like punches at Mina, and he kind of misses him, and he walks off. We just kind of see him salute Gavin, and he's like, mission accepted. And then Gavin's, let's leave the letter in the past. We've got the future ahead of us. And it closes again on the bracelet. So we opened on the bracelet, closed on the bracelet. You guys can buy the bracelet if you want. Bracelet. Essentially, a word for this episode, bracelet, done. What we see here is Gavin saw MC's letter on the board about her friend leaving. So what we can presume is either the letter is one of two things. I kind of know, but I'm going to throw some curveballs just to keep you guys thinking. One, it could be a letter from her friend, so he's gone all the way out of his way to find her friend and get a response. Two, Gavin has decided that if you're lonely, if you miss her kind of thing, I'll be there for you kind of thing as a friend. I'll let you decide. I'll let you guys decide what you think is in the letter. We now get our end credit scene, and we see Victor in New York with a guy in a hat. We're going to call him the guy in the hat. And it turns out that Victor's business trip wasn't really a business trip. It was, but it wasn't business, if you get what I'm saying. It's business. Which reminds me of the Muppets Christmas Carol when the guy's like, business. Ebenezer Scrooge, yeah. And he's like talking to the guy, his mentor, and he's like, you must understand business. Whenever Victor comes on, it's business. It turns out the guy he's talking to says, so this was one of the Black Swan bases, and kind of come to a site which is all rubble. It's 17 years ago, so we already heard about this incident 17 years ago about the kids getting kidnapped and stuff. He said that there was a lot of big businesses and financial brokers involved in it as well. He said that all these people are kind of connected. He said 3 days ago there was an explosion here, but the cover-up story is that it's just a gas explosion, which we know it probably isn't if that's what you're telling us. He hands Victor the report and he said, this is what I've got right now. And then he asks, so what about the girl? You said that you'd found a potential candidate. And Victor says, I won't know yet if the reason for her missing memories is this incident. See, the wrong approach could be counterproductive right now. And the guy's like, oh, so it's PTSD, so you should proceed with caution. Vic kind of gets that flashback of him running away from something with MC. Baby MC, that is. And MC's like, look out, be careful. We see the guy with the hat burning the report, because obviously you can't leave any traces with these kind of things, so burn it kind of thing, burn it as you see fit, kill it with fire. Victor's like, I will get it back no matter what the cost, and that is it. We find out as well, next week's episode is called Beyond That Dream, and it's going to be our Lucian episode. And the final picture was Gavin at the fireworks. So I think when it comes to their episodes, they're all getting their own firework picture, which is quite cool. I also really hope they release these cards into the game. They might be in a game already, but I don't think they are just yet. So maybe because this anime is going to go on for 3 anime seasons now, so it'll probably end around fireworks season. So hopefully for us gamers, we get the karma cards of these, which is, I really want them. I want the Victor one, which is coming up. We've got the episode of Lucian coming up. I'm gonna say, so yeah, like I said, this episode was so much better than the last episode. I really feel like they should have actually swapped them around. I mean, there wasn't much takeaway from the last episode. That means that this episode had to be where it was. And my issue last week was the pacing. I said the pacing was wrong. I would have been happy to have Gavin's episode last week and the Kiro episode now, just because the Kiro episode at the end had that massive spoilery chunk that really wasn't quite needed just yet. And it's what the problem now with us having that is things are becoming a little bit predictable, which is a worry. Don't worry, I'm still having absolute fun. I'm loving seeing it. This episode was great. I also did a recent check. So in the game, obviously, you collect intimacy with your characters. I was curious to see how I stood with all the characters. Obviously, me and Victor are number 1 spot. Second place was actually Gavin, and I figured that Lucian might be second because I feel like I have a lot of cards for Lucian, but it turns out Gavin is my second best boy. So there we go. I learned something new. I don't really pay attention to the intimacies too much on the game because I've capped out. I'm up to date. I'm waiting for the updates. I'm just grinding. I'm grinding at the moment for gold, and I'm updating my karma cards. And again, if you want to add me, I think I put my details in the first episode for the game. So add me if you want. I'm happy to add you guys back, send you some gifts. So yeah, I hope you guys are having a good day. This episode was good. It's the way they've handled this episode is nice. Some things have been cut a little short. Some things have been cut. I'm glad that we're finally clearing up the misunderstanding with Gavin, because he's actually quite an interesting, complex character in general. His backstory is very interesting with his dad and the fact that he's gone into divorces because of his dad. So all of this is very interesting, and the fact that he's very misunderstood. Gavin is almost like a lone wolf. I think I'll put the picture up quickly of Gavin with the wolf. he's showing with the wolf, he kind of takes his own path. He doesn't like getting people involved, and he's not scared of standing up against the bigger bully kind of thing to do the right thing. Sadly, it does mean that people like MC thought he was a thug, thought he was threatening her. Me being me, who already knew this was happening, I could see people getting panicky, going, "Oh my god, is he a bad guy?" And I was like, "No, just wait, please, just wait. Don't kind of condemn him just yet. He's a lovely character. Gavin is great. I'm happy we got this nice episode for him." In my head, this episode was way better than last week's episode. Next week's episode is what I'm concerned with, because the Lucian stuff is very interesting. So I'm very curious to see how they do it. And I think next episode's going to be interesting to quite a few of you guys if you don't play the game. So you're in for one hell of a ride, guys. It's going to be fun. I can't wait to be there with you guys. Please keep giving me upvotes and letting me know if this is what's working, what's not working, because I'm learning. I apologize for the issue with the numbers as well. I think it is because this anime is one episode behind God of High School. So I obviously did the God of High School anime and I thought both were at the same place. They're not. This is episode 5 and God of High School's on episode 6. So we're one ahead in that place there. Have a good day. I am melting over to here in the heat wave. The humidity is ridiculous. My house is old. All my pets are kind of splayed out on their houses right now. I am recording at midnight because it's the coolest part of the day right now. So I'm going to be editing into the night, shoving this up really early, then trying to get some sleep. So I will see you guys again Monday. I hope you're enjoying yourselves. Please let me know if you're liking this stuff, because it really does. It boosts my confidence, because I know I don't have much of a following, but to know that just a few of you are enjoying this, it's great, because I get to talk to you guys personally about what I think about this anime. This anime isn't doing a bad job. I just would have reordered things if it was me. See you again next week, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.